views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hey there, welcome to the Bronx Buzz. This is BronxNet's program where we talk to writers and journalists and editors and all the people putting stuff out in the media. And that would also include photographers and filmmakers and artists and anybody putting stuff out in the Bronx. And this evening, in our second segment, you're going to love the photographer. I had never met him before. I'd never seen his work before. He's being shown actually at Montefiore Medical Center at their gallery. And that'll be for the next couple of months. So you'll get a chance to see his work. But to start the program this evening, we're going to welcome Liz Donovan. She is the climate reporter for City Limits, also a member of Report for America Corps. Nice to have you with us, Ms. Donovan.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
As I mentioned to you before the program, we had advocates, environmental advocates on our other program, Bronx Talk, this week to talk about what they thought about Governor Hochul's awarding contracts for a major green energy initiative to power New York City with wind, solar, and hydropower. It would originate from upstate New York and Canada and be transmitted all the way down. Why don't you talk a little bit, if you would, about the proposal, about the article that you wrote, and then we'll break it down as what the implications are for the borough of the Bronx.
Sure. Well, as you know, in 2019, New York State passed the Climate Leadership and Community Investment Act, which set a bunch of really aggressive targets to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and transition to clean energy. So it was looking at 85% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2050 and 100% zero emission electricity throughout the state by 2040. So back in January, the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, NYSERDA, put out a request for proposals for companies that were going to be able to bring these clean energy projects into the state. And there were 7 proposals that were submitted. So what Governor Hochul said in her press conference was that they basically had narrowed it down to 2. And she decided the first day of Climate Week, New York City, to just go ahead with both projects that they had kind of selected as finalists. So those 2 projects, I can talk in detail about both of them.
Let me, I can list some of the things. They said it would create approximately 10,000 jobs, bring $8.2 billion in investments, including $460 million for community benefit agreements, which resonates beautifully in the borough of the Bronx. I personally didn't like the idea. They said it would be to support disadvantaged communities. It's kind of a pejorative way of talking about Bronx neighborhoods. We don't view ourselves, I think, as disadvantaged. We may be overburdened, but that's another thing. And of course, reduce the city's reliance. I guess here's the thing, reliance on fossil fuels. Here's the thing that Bronx environmental advocates were very concerned about, and that was the process, is that original documents said that the thing was going to be one of the converter stations might be in Van Cortlandt Park, which for Bronx people is a non-starter. Bronx people are always worried that we end up getting the short end of the stick. Do you want to talk directly about, is the Bronx in danger, or what do we already know about this particular project or projects that would be of interest to the people of the Bronx?
Yeah. Well, the one project that I think you're talking about is the Clean Path New York project, which for the summer, I was writing about this. I was speaking with actually Melissa Barber of South Bronx Unite, and we were just having a conversation about, different issues that Bronx residents have that I wanted to look into, and particularly interested in when projects that are meant to be renewable energy or, kind of climate, thinking forward as far as climate progress, end up hurting communities that have consistently been overburdened with highways and waste transfer plants and power plants, which, as you know, the Bronx has been. So they were at that time, the Clean Path New York project proposal showed that there was going to be a high voltage converter station that would basically, all that energy that was being brought in from upstate was going to be, or from Delaware County rather, was going to be transferred in the Bronx, and it was set to be in the Terminal Mall, right in that area, right across from the.
Originally, that's true. That was the original plan, to put it down by 161st Street. That's right.
Exactly. So Representative Richie Torres came out and he did a little presser in front of the Children's Museum and said that he had negotiated with the company and gotten them to agree to put it in a non-residential area. So at that time, I spoke with the New York Power Authority, which is one of the companies that is part of Clean Path New York. And they told me their plan was to not put it in the Bronx at all. And their new proposal that they put forth, the section, if you compare the two proposals, the section that shows where the converter station is, describing the Terminal Mall area in the first proposal, in the revised proposal, it's redacted.
Well, that alarm bells for Bronx environmental advocates.
Of course, and that was frustrating to me as a reporter too, because I thought there should be transparency with this, especially when the project had already been contentious, right? You want to get the local residents on board with a project like this that's supposed to, bring clean energy into the state. You want to be very transparent. So I reached out to NYSERDA and they told me that the location for the new converter station is going to be in Astoria, in an industrial area. I looked at the address. I also spoke with the person who he did the report. He was with the Bronx. I got it wrong in my story, and now I want to make sure I don't get it wrong. I think it was the Bronx for Urban Studies. He did a report
That's Caesar Yoke. He was one of the guests on our program this week.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm interested to hear what he said, because if he had a chance to look at it a little bit closer, because I reached out to him to find out. Okay, well, this is the new idea. What do you think about this? So what his report had identified was a UK study showing clusters of leukemia among children who lived within a certain distance of.
There was a quarter mile from a station like that.
It's exactly right. It was a quarter mile. So I looked at the map and it looks like where this converter station is now in Astoria. Because of course, then I was concerned with Astoria. That's another overburdened community.
I realize that, it's not the Bronx, so it's not our direct concern, but I can understand that a reporter for City Limits would want to know a lot more. And yes, we certainly wouldn't want to burden the people of Queens either.
Right. It's the other asthma alley, right? So there was a concern there, but I did look at it on a map, and it does seem like there's nothing within 1/4 of a mile from.
Well, that's good. But here's the thing: it's the redacting. What came up from all the advocates that we had. We had the Bronx Council of Environmental Quality. We had Assembly Member Amanda Septimo, who represents a large part of the southern part of the Bronx. Their issue was, why not come to the communities beforehand? Why not really find out? Because people in the communities may know where there could be better places. And I understand that New York City has a problem because they don't have, empty property away from residential areas, other than Parkland, which of course is a non-starter. So their thing was what you've already mentioned, is transparency.
Right.
And why not work with communities rather than say, here's the plan, now what do you do?
Exactly. And to that end, NYSERDA did tell me that once the projects get underway, of course, they have to first go through permitting and regulation process with.
Sure. And environmental, we would like to think they're going to do an EIS.
Yeah, the Department of Environmental Conservation will be looking at the projects. There'll be 60 days of public comment, and NYSERDA said they will be encouraging both companies throughout the process to be engaging with the local community. So whether they do that or not, is on them. But that's what the state agencies are telling me.
I took because the people in the Bronx, we had the Croton water filtration plant put in Van Cortlandt Park, and 45 acres of Van Cortlandt Park. The EIS, which was examined very carefully here in the Bronx, was baloney. I don't know what else to tell you. They talked about under $1 billion for the project. We ended up paying $4 billion. It's 15 years later. It's still not completed. So I guess we'd have to forgive Bronx advocates for saying, come to us first. Let's have a dialogue, because 60 days, how much comment can you get? And then is there really a back and forth, a give and take? It's not like people sitting around a table. So anyway, I'm sorry, because I've been hearing this for years. I don't want to throw cold water on what should be a very good project, but that's the concern that's here in the Bronx.
Well, I think it really needs to be looked at from all angles, right? Because we want green energy, of course, to come into the state, but we don't want to continue to overburden environmental justice communities. I mean, that's consistently a topic that comes up in public comment, is a specific questions about environmental justice. And that's something that, we really do need to be thinking about. And I hope that the people who are involved in this project are thinking about that.
I will also tell you, we have also invited New York Power Authority and Clean Path to come on another edition of Bronx Talk and even respond to some of these things. Let me just ask you, for you, being a climate reporter, you love writing about the environment. I mean, tell me a little bit about you, and let the people know when they read your byline on City Limits, who are they getting it from? But give us a little bit.
Yeah, I used to write about immigration. I just completed the story for the New York Times on immigration, on home health aides, and that was kind of my passion. And then I was working in France at Agence France Presse. I was on the climate desk there, and I was kind of taking major global information about climate change, the IPCC reports, things like that, and writing about it for a global audience. Now I'm able to take a lot of the social justice work that I have been doing with immigration writing and the kind of global issues of climate change and distill it for a local audience in New York, which has been really exciting for me.
What drives you? What's the motivation to do work about the environment or about immigration or things like that?
It's holding people accountable. It's holding people accountable from and making sure that people who have already consistently been overburdened in society are not continuing to be so.
Listen, you've come to the right place if you're talking to the borough of the Bronx.
Right.
One of the things, just going back to that project, one of the things in their information, I think, that the governor put out, they talked about $2.9 billion in public health benefits to basically deal with people who have been affected by these things. I'd like to get to a situation where we do it from a preventative point of view rather than say, well, you got asthma, now we'll put funding into treating asthma. I mean, that's not, it's not where it's at. Do you think that part of this dialogue is, if you talk to people in the South Bronx, they'll say the first thing we should do is get rid of these peaker plants that are fossil fuel generating plants that are, of course, affecting the lungs of all of our children. Do you think that could be part of the dialogue, or at this point they're just going to talk about, for 60 days, they're going to talk about the 2 lines that are coming down from Canada? Yeah,
I mean, the peaker plant discussion has been going on for a while. I know Comptroller Scott Stringer has been talking about that, and New York Power Authority has, I forget the number, I want to say 5, but that might be wrong, maybe 7 peaker plants in the city that it runs. So yeah, hopefully as we switch to green energy, we won't need these extremely dirty sources of energy to handle the overload. Peaker plants really only run when, air conditioning is on a lot, kind of during the summer.
Right. Maybe the message then is help is on the way. I wish that is the message. But anyway, Liz Donovan, we're going to keep reading you in City Limits. You are a wealth of knowledge for us here in the Bronx because, as you know, we're all concerned about the environment and our health. And we certainly appreciate you joining us in the Bronx Buzz. And we look forward to having you come back because guaranteed there's going to be a follow-up on this and more environmental projects in the future.
Of course. And your viewers can feel free to contact me if you have any tips or any questions or anything like that about the climate and environment. Thank you.
Great. We have your contact info, of course, will be up on the screen. And so thank you so much, Liz Donovan from City Limits. We'll take a break. And then when we come back, as I told you, we are going to be seeing some great photography, Bronx photography. You're going to love it. Don't go away.
When taking public transportation, don't touch your phone. Carry hand sanitizer and use it immediately upon leaving the bus or train. Avoid touching your face. If someone is coughing or sneezing, move away. Wash your hands with soap and water as soon as possible. Limit contact with poles. If possible, avoid rush hour. Don't eat or drink on public transportation. Keep your bag off the floor or other surfaces. Avoid directly touching turnstiles. Stay up to date with the latest from your local health department and CDC.
Okay, back with you on the Bronx Buzz. And as I told you before, I'm very excited about having this photographer. Had not met him before, had not really seen his photos before, but we're all in for a treat when we see the work of Pablo D Castillo Jr. Nice to have you with us, Pablo.
Thank you so much, Gary. It's a pleasure to be here.
Let's just talk about you and your background. A Bronx guy feels it here when we talk about we were talking about the books behind me about our hometown. Tell me about growing up in the Bronx and what took you from point X to point Y, and you became a photographer.
So yeah, obviously I'm born and raised in the Bronx, and I don't see myself ever leaving. My parents are raised me here in the Bronx. I went to school, and sorry, I'm kind of nervous right now, so
That's
I'm
all right. Listen,
up right now.
Bronx people can relate to what you said. When you said I'm born and raised and I'm not leaving, I was going, my man. And what high school did you go to?
So I went to Evander High School.
Okay, I went to Clinton, so we are Bronx brothers. And then tell me, so you were not originally a photographer?
No, so growing up in the Bronx, you have two paths. Either you live a positive life, and you can also be involved in a negative lifestyle, which unfortunately, I grew up in a negative lifestyle. I used to be involved in graffiti. So I got into photography because I needed a positive outlet in order to stay creative.
Was there somebody who said to you, "Hey, Pablo, that's not happening. You can get in trouble. It's not working out. Do this," or did you kind of figure that out on your own?
No, yeah, definitely my parents. They were gonna, show me right from wrong if I didn't go down the right path. But
Right.
growing up in the Bronx, I have a lot of wisdom and just observing the people around me. And my uncle taught me chess as a young child.
Right.
So in my life, I use chess as the way to guide myself through life. I see 10 paths down the road of where any decision I make is going to take me.
That's fascinating. I'll give you a bit of Bronx history. When BronxNet Television started, I had the first feature story on the station when they turned it on. It was about a Bronx youngster who had won a national championship in chess, and they were talking about the effect that it has on young people. So I'm checking off all the boxes, man. You're doing the right thing.
Thank
and
you.
and the other thing, talking about graffiti, which the Bronx had artists, and then you saw what the subways used to look like.
Mhm.
Tats Crew makes a lot of money now because they
Yeah.
became legit. They are the perfect example of people who did graffiti and then turned it around and made a career out of it. So let's talk a little bit about your photography. You just picked up the camera and you shot everything around you. I mean, tell me something about that.
So yeah, I've been involved in photography for the past 5 years, and I would usually photograph New York City. Just a year and a half ago, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna start capturing my hometown and show love to the hood. And yeah.
Let's Rebecca, let's just put up anything you got. She's got all the pictures up there. Look at this. People who look at Tracy Towers and say, "Oh, it's such an ugly building." Listen, we know what it's like. But
Yeah.
you did something special with Tracy Towers. Tell me about this picture.
Yeah, so this image right here is very hard to capture. Star trails in New York City is very difficult for the fact that there's so much light pollution. So I have an array of skills in photography. So I use Photoshop in order to change an image and show the beauty of my perspective and how I see it. And
Was that a daylight shot or an evening?
no, yeah, so that's a nighttime shot. And
Nighttime shot.
I just did a sky replacement and added some beautiful star trails to the unfortunately, ugly building that, I think it's actually absolutely beautiful.
Listen, people live there, and people have been living there for many, many years. All
Yeah.
right, now there was if I remember correctly, Rebecca, there was another look at Tracy Towers. This is just priceless, I think.
Thank you. Yeah, I just caught that the other night. It's been a goal of mine to capture the moon rising in between the towers. And one night I went out to Soundview to photograph the moon rising. And on my way back home, I unexpectedly captured the moon rising right in between the towers.
Wow.
And I
And
just got to stop and capture it.
It's absolutely beautiful
Thank
and
you.
fantastic. And I appreciate as much as anybody artwork that makes our borough look a different way than some people outside of it think it looks like. You
Like,
know,
absolutely, never limit your capabilities. My goal is to tell my story and how I view my hometown.
Listen, you've come to the right place on BronxNet Television to talk about that. Before we go, this talk about how we view our hometown. We are going to talk about your gallery exhibit, which is happening as well. Talk
Yeah.
to me about this. This is gorgeous.
Thank you so much. So yeah, I was on a photo shoot. This is my old neighborhood up by 230th in the west side of the Bronx.
And so you're looking at that where you're looking north at that spot.
That's west, looking west towards Bailey
Toward
Avenue.
toward Bailey Avenue. Okay.
Yeah, towards Bailey
Those
Avenue.
are like the Orloff Towers.
Oh, I'm not sure of the name.
Right, okay.
But I don't know the names, but just I wanted the image to look
And then what did you do with that? You made it, you gave it that rainbow look. I don't know if we can put it up again, but
yeah, so it was a bright day, and I just used sky replacement using Photoshop, and I added like just the dramatics clouds and a beautiful rainbow just to describe, the Bronx is beautiful no matter what speculations people have or say about it. In my eyes, that's what I see.
And did you embellish the colors a little bit, or that it was one of those beautiful spring days that we get?
Yeah, no. Yeah, all I did was just a sky replacement and just brighten the photo a little bit, and it was a beautiful day.
You were on a shoot, you said. Was that something just for yourself, or you were part of a group doing something?
No, yeah, just a personal shoot, walking around the neighborhood, just trying to capture a moment.
That's fantastic. All right, let's keep going. Let's show some more stuff. Here you go. Where is this?
So here, this is City Island. This is another moment. I wanted to capture the sunset, but it was a very gloomy day. So you can see here the sky has like a dramatic lightning strike occurring. And I felt like
did you actually catch the lightning strike?
No, I added that as well.
Wow.
Yeah,
Tremendous work.
It was a huge, gloomy gray sky, and the sun peeked out perfectly at that moment, at the final moments of sunset. Right. And I just felt like it needed some more spice. So
it is just fantastic and
thank you.
Beautiful. Keep going. Let's do some more.
So here's another moment of basically me showcasing my skills and wanting to describe how I view a moment. I use sky replacement in order to show a dramatic scene occurring here on High Bridge.
And where did you take that picture from?
From High Bridge.
From the bridge itself?
Yes.
Oh, which reminds me, we do have some other tremendous pictures from the High Bridge. High Bridge is one of the great places just about anywhere.
Yeah, the oldest bridge in New York. Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right, so let's do it. Let's take a look. Yeah, this is my favorite of them all. It's just
Thank you
fantastic.
so much. Yep. So this is High Bridge again, and I just felt like this scene needed some more Bronx vibes, something dramatic.
And did you mess with that one at all, or was that was the way that it was kind of
Yep. That's another image that I use sky replacement. So my goal is to just show, don't be afraid to use Photoshop in order to show your skills. I did capture the image. It's not fake. It's a real image.
It's like an artist who paints. You say, okay, well, wait a minute, it's not exactly like that.
Yeah.
But an artist who paints a picture, and there are artists who paint landscape pictures like that, and they add stuff or they change it or they make it look like they want it to look like. Same kind of thing. Use all the tools that you have, et cetera, et cetera. Do you go out every day? I mean, do you do this all the time to look for stuff? Or do you just, okay, now Saturday afternoon, I think I'll take a walk?
Well, I'm a full-time handyman and a part-time freelance photographer. So I try to make time after work or on the weekends to go out and do my shoots.
And you love it.
Yeah, I love it. My goal is to be full-time one day. So I hope to one day just shoot every single day, from morning to night.
Wow, fantastic. All right. I lost count, Rebecca. We got one more? I think we have one more. Oh, here we go. And this was fascinating. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of those like when you go to a amusement park and one of those mirror things where you got
Oh
to walk
yes,
in and around the mirrors. So what is this?
that's a cool observation. Yeah, definitely. This is obviously High Bridge,
Oh, it's
and
the bridge. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. This is High Bridge, and that's the tower straight ahead. And I just used some blur effect in order to raise the gates, and
Wow.
added a moon in the photo.
It is really just gorgeous, and all the pictures are gorgeous. Let's talk
Thank
about
you.
the gallery at Montefiore. Not only are you being shown, it's your first gallery, but this was for personal reasons a very special thing for you.
Yeah, so I'm very grateful to have my work exhibited in the hospital. I was able to get them to notice my work because I tagged them on my Instagram feed, and it's very important because of circumstances I went through with my mother. She passed away from cancer in Montefiore. So not only is my work dedicated in showcasing my hometown and my love for it, but it's also dedicated to my mother.
And being shown for the first time anywhere at Montefiore Medical Center kind of means a lot. It's almost like giving back in a way, right?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly how I feel because going in the hospital in and out very for many years, I would notice the artwork and anything that changed there, and it kind of like gave me a sense of relief and like just a positive reinforcement to go and deal with what I was going through.
Are there places in the Bronx that you say, this one is next? I'm going to do this one. I mean, do you, or is it just a matter of walking around? Now, what neighborhood do you live in currently?
So I'm in Bedford Park.
Oh, Bedford Park. So
Yeah.
listen, you got the reservoir there. I mean, there's plenty of great things to shoot in that neighborhood.
Yes.
Do you have places or things that you're looking at to do?
Yeah, so I'm always doing my recon. I have a list of locations that I'm planning on
Uh-huh.
shooting, and I'm always taking notes on where to shoot next, what vantage point can I get to, and right now I'm currently in love with Soundview section and the Whitestone Bridge and Thrags Neck Bridge.
And getting the views that you can get from
Yes,
the borough of the Bronx. All right,
yeah,
now let's talk social media. People want to see you. People want to see your stuff, and then let's also talk about how to get to the Montefiore Medical Center a gallery show. Go ahead,
yeah.
sell, sell it, baby.
So you could find me on Instagram. That's where I post all my work at In the Bronx, or also my personal page at Pablo D Castillo Jr. And you could also try to visit Montefiore. My gallery should be up for the next 3 months.
Next 3 months, all the way through the fall. Pablo D Castillo, guess what? We're going to invite you back, man.
Thank you.
Shoot some great stuff, great Bronx stuff, because what you're telling us is heart and soul to our home borough of the Bronx. We appreciate it.
I appreciate it so much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Guess what, folks? We thank Liz Donovan from City Limits and, of course, our great photographer, Pablo D Castillo Jr. And you know what's going to happen? This is going to happen. We'll see you next week.